All right, so we just practiced the settling of the mind, the taking the mind as the path, taking the space of the mind as the path. That's another shamatha method, but as we said, it can also bring some deep wisdom as we navigate, as we explore really the space of our mind and the degree to which we are not that mind, the degree to which we are not our thoughts and those stories, and we get that distance. And we're able to sit further back into awareness in the midst of motion, which will serve us in all circumstances of our life. And so the next practice that comes after this, in this progression of shamatha practices, of calm abiding practices, is that in the next phase we drop even the mindfulness of the movements of the mind, and we simply attend to awareness itself, the very fact of being aware. And so for this, I'd like to guide you actually to Mingyur Rinpoche, Mingyur Mingyur Rinpoche. He has many YouTube videos, and he's really masterful at explaining this practice of awareness, pointing out awareness. But to give just a very brief introduction, it's very simple. Raise your hand if you're aware. This is one of the things that Mingyur Rinpoche does. Are you aware of me speaking right now? And if you are, that is an awareness of being aware. And so if we were just to stop right now for a second, and I'm just going to ask you for a few seconds to just attend to that awareness of being aware. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, were you able to do that? Were you able to be aware of being aware? I mean, we're basically always aware of being aware. So the practice of awareness meditation is simply maintaining that and not getting caught up in the movements of the mind or the thinking of the mind or the stories or anything, and just maintaining our attention on that awareness of awareness. Okay? And this can be a very deep practice and can really lead to some insights and so on, and that then will lead us into the wisdom aspect of meditation, the vipassana, the prajna, the wisdom, which we won't get into too much in this little introductory course. But even by doing these shamatha meditations, settling a body, speech, and mind, settling the mind, mindfulness of breathing, and then of course this awareness of awareness, some insights will dawn naturally. And if you're interested in more insight practices, then I highly recommend Alan Wallace's books on this. Mingyur Rinpoche has some wonderful stuff, and there are other resources as well. And there's also wisdom courses online, which are it's a wonderful resource for Buddhist practice, and I highly recommend looking into some of those courses. Alan Wallace has some, and many other great teachers, and they can guide you deeper into practices of wisdom. So another point on meditation, and we alluded to it in the previous meditation, but in any practice we do within this context, at the beginning of the practice, there's 3 components to the practice. At the beginning is our motivation, and then there's the main practice, which we just do it. And then at the end, there's a dedication of the merit of the practice to our highest aspiration. And this is something we should be doing at the beginning and end of every practice. And also it's a nice thing to do at the beginning and end of a day. We wake up in the morning with a certain intention, motivation for why we're alive. And again, this can be bodhicitta, the wish for enlightenment for all beings and so on, or whatever our deepest, most meaningful motivation is. And then we have then seeded our day with that, or our practice with that motivation, and we move forward in that light of that motivation. And then at the end of the day or at the end of the practice, we then dedicate that aspiration or that merit from the practice to our highest aspiration. And so again, that could be this idea of enlightenment, And another thing that we can use it to do is we can dedicate it to where we would like to go after death. So there's this in Buddhism, there's this idea of Pure Lands, and so there can be this aspiration to go to the Pure Lands, or to be somewhere where a Buddha exists. And we this is a very, in and of itself, Pure Land practice is quite extensive. We can get more into it, but if you're interested, you can look up Sukhavati practices or Buddha Amitabha, things like that. And at some point, I'll put some more information out on this. But on my YouTube channel, there is a mantra to Buddha Amitabha, and so if you look up the background and you feel a heart connection to it, that can be a practice you do. Alternatively, again, whatever your religious background or whatever your view, wherever you want to go after this life, or whatever deity you'd like to be with, or divine aspect that you'd like to be with, you can make aspirations to be joined with that being, or have your consciousness head towards that being. So that can be very meaningful, and on the simplest level, we can just say, I won't, seed your mind with the wish that may there ever be greater bodhicitta in my heart, may there ever be greater loving kindness in my mind, and may I always be headed towards light, love, wisdom, and awareness. May that be the directionality of my consciousness. So that's a very simple way of dedicating merit and wishing that for all beings as well. We always want to extend this out to all beings. Okay, so that's a little recap of the meditations we just did, and also how to create motivation, practice, and dedication for all of our practices. And so from here now, we'll move into our next meditation.